Well, his critics have often called him an NRI Prime Minister. After all, Narendra Modi has already done more than 12 countries before completing 12 months of his government. But as the Prime Minister set off for his three-nation tour today to France, to Germany and Canada, the Foreign Ministry was pitching it as a grand exercise in extending brand India. The Prime Minister will be stopping off in France first. This particular tour is again a very long one. It's for 9 days. He has, as I said, been criticized often by the opposition in the past for being away for too long and for having very long tours. The question is whether a globe-trotting Prime Minister is good for India. We're joined by Ambassador KC Singh tonight, Sabah Naqvi here in the studio with us, and also Tom Vadakkan, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Ambassador Singh, nice to have you back after a long time. If you remember, you and I had the same conversation a few months ago about whether the tours were too long, whether it was good that he was the most travelled Prime Minister. Having now seen this happen for almost a year, Ambassador Singh, would you say it's been worth it? It's been worth the effort that's being put in?
Look, let me say at the beginning that Prime Ministers, leaders of countries have to market their country. There are no two ways about it. Prime Ministers will travel, should travel, and Mr. Modi has a penchant for it. He's done it as a Chief Minister. But I think I have two or three objections to the way the visits are structured. One you mentioned, I mean 9 days in the 21st century is just not done. In the 19th century, they used to set forth on a ship and take maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks. He should do just about 4 or 5 days, come back. This happens because the visits are structured with theatre. We are told that there is going to be charcha on a boat. Now, you know, this is unimportant. Then there's going to be Sukhjinder singing in Canada. There is rural distress. Crops have been destroyed in the northwest of India. We've had unseasonal rains. People of India get tired of a Prime Minister who's absent for 9 days. They want him to be just physically present and share them. Maybe he can't do anything more than that. Yes, having said that, France is important, Germany is important, trade fair in Germany is important, but why club Canada? Canada is another 8 hours flight, and if he's flying to Vancouver, that's again another 4 hours from, he could have done it when he went in September for the UNGA. So it's very poor structuring. He could have done 2 days in France, 2 days in Germany, back in 5 daas, and in between keep a Saturday, Sunday. It's not even noticed the Prime Minister is not there. So it's the way it is structured, I'm not happy with it.
Okay, I think you make an important distinction there. You have a problem with the way it's structured, but at the same time, you're saying it's important that he is also traveling to several countries, perhaps, which, you know, Prime Ministers in the past, you know, may have ignored. And so, Tom Vadakkan, in that sense, I mean, if you look at the PM today went to Sri Lanka. He was the first PM to go to Sri Lanka after nearly 30 years. He's made a major outreach to the neighborhood, went to Nepal twice, you know, even before his 6 months were over. He made it a point to go to Bhutan first. So he's also, you know, going to those countries, even Canada. Maybe this is not the best time, as Mr. KC Singh says, but, you know, these are countries whose leaders have made, you know, more than one visit here in the last few years, and we haven't reciprocated. So in that sense, would you concede that at least he, on the foreign policy front, he's making, you know, a good attempt?
Nidhi, I read the interview he had given to a leading newspaper in Delhi, in which he says, I'm from Ahmedabad, where we have a saying, single fare, double journey. Now, what is significant here is that the government of India, the Exchequer, has spent 317 crores spent in the period of his regime. This is, I'm quoting the Times of India. And what are the significant takeaways from this tour? Yes, he's been marketing the country. Yes, he's been marketing himself too. But let me tell you something. Besides the usual exchange of pleasantries and reaffirmation of mutual commitment, in fact, under the Modi's India failed to back the New Delhi as the headquarters of the BRIC Bank. The headquarters of the new bank would be Shanghai. This is after his Brazil visit, July 13th and July 16th, between that date. The point here is, I'm not going into details. Now you go into Japan visit. Japan announced 35 million investment in India. But how will it happen? It has not yet worked out.
You're saying it's low on substantives. That's what you're saying.
Precisely.
It's
Nidhi, this is precisely the issue. This is not a public rally. He should get out of the election mode, you know, whether it's in parliament or whether it's in foreign lands. He should move out of that.
Okay,
if he's marketing India, please do. But let there be a substantial issue on the table, which is not there.
Sambit, that is a criticism, you know, that whether it was the Japan trip, that, you know, these are good initiatives, but, you know, do we need to have, you know, more substantive visits rather than, or, you know, addresses to the NRIs, playing the drums and so on? Does it need to move beyond that?
A few word here and there, and then I go to the substance of the debate, in fact. Here and there because
you're good at that.
No,
metaphors.
because Tom Vadakam is a very senior person, and when I expected that he would have gone on the substance of the debate, that he has derailed, I have to bring in a few words here and there. You talk of absenteeism of the Prime Minister. I would say there was a Prime Minister who was there yet who was absent. And here is a Prime Minister who may be absent for a while, but yet he is present. And secondly, when the previous Prime Minister did not work, it's but natural that this Prime Minister has to work day in and day out. And the substance of the debate is, Mr. Tom Vadakam, you did not visit our immediate neighbor, Nepal, for 17 years. You did not visit our immediate maritime neighbor, Sri Lanka, for 30 years. Leave aside Bhutan and other countries. India has been encircled by China today. Because of whom? Because of the blind spots in the foreign policy that your government had. Your government did not have a vision towards Indian foreign policy, and that's the reason as to why we have a port in Sri Lanka. We have a launch base in Seychelles. Everywhere you go today, you see that there is some kind of threat looking at India. Who has to look after this? Your Prime Minister did not look, does not mean my Prime Minister, I mean the country's Prime Minister now will not look into this.
But then what about KC Singh's criticism that does it have to be a 9-day trip? I mean, could these trips be structured better? Does there have to be a now pe charcha?
No, KC Singh's, he's a very senior diplomat, and we all respect him, the country respects him. He has a problem with the structure, and he says that the Prime Minister in the 21st century should not be out for 9 days. I would say, I would rather answer him in his own word by saying that, well, yes, it is 21st century, no one can be out anywhere. After all, it's a globe, is a village today. Even if he is in Seychelles, even if he is in Ottawa, he may be in Vancouver, he can always be here in India, because after all it is a digital world. It is a shrunken world.
This is why you're a good spokesperson of the BJP, Sambit. Sabha was cracking up on that, but you know, come on, let's seriously, Sabha. I mean, would you give him, if there's one area you'd give Modi credit for, it would perhaps be on the foreign policy front or the outreach. Do you agree with Ambassador KC Singh? The problem is with the structure.
You know, I'm not going to, Nidhi, can I just make a political point about why he likes to go abroad so much? Mr. Modi is always big on grandstanding. He always has been. And it's much easier, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing it. There's nothing, he likes to go out. He likes to shake hands with world leaders. He likes to talk to the NRI community, play drums in Japan, make a speech in Madison Square Gardens. There's also a personal choice, because he's not some foreign policy expert. He's an Indian politician. So he is playing back to the Indian audience. He's doing what he likes to do in the whole process. Now, so now the question is, that is one area where he is succeeding. The challenges at home are so much greater and more difficult to manage. So hence you have a Prime Minister who travels a lot. So there has to be, I mean, I'm not even saying it as a criticism. I'm just saying it, that is the political path that Mr. Modi has chosen. Also, Nidhi, let's remember that
he's
Mr.
high
Modi,
on optics,
he's high on optics. Prime Minister Modi is the most presidential of Prime Ministers that I've had in my, I've seen in my reporting career.